Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, and it is our 2025 Stanley Cup Final preview show. And as you can tell, this is the Ice Guys daily live show first to have this many people on the show at the same time. So it's going to be a fun one today, but it's Ian Cameron, it's Alex B. Smith, it's Matt Robinson, it's Perlo. Obviously, the four of us you know very well, regulars on the show in some fashion. And joining us now, our special guests. We've got two that have been on with us before. Alex Bolduc has been on once before. Luke Adam, our good friend of the show, been on multiple times. In fact, I think Luke Adams joining us to preview the Stanley Cup Final. I think this is 2 years in a row that Luke's joining us here to preview the Stanley Cup Final. So great to have Luke back. As far as we're probably going to just jump right into it because this is going to be series preview and game one preview. That being said, I do want to get the business of the show out of the way early, and that's just to inform everyone that we will have ourselves a game one Stanley Cup Final live betcast exclusively for our Patreon members coming up Wednesday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Just make sure you are aware of that. We're definitely excited about it and very much looking forward to it. And again, just like all the betcasts this year, it's going to be obviously live betting throughout the game. Have some beers, have some drinks, great camaraderie with our viewers and listeners of the show. So make sure you join us for that. Patreon.com/IceGuys. If you want to join us for the Stanley Cup Final Game 1 live betcast tomorrow night. We are very much looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this series. I don't give two shits that it's a rematch. This is an exciting storyline. We're going to talk all about it with the Panthers and the Oilers 2 years in a row. I know there's some people that are going to say it's fatigue. They're sick of these two teams, Oilers fatigue, Panthers fatigue, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a great series. I think the storylines galore. I'm very much looking forward to them. So again, the live betcast tomorrow night, and to join us for that Game 1 Stanley Cup Final live betcast, make sure you sign up at patreon.com/IceGuys. Great stuff. And look at this. We've got everyone's now here that's expected to be joining us here on the show at some point. So there he is. I think he's fresh off the golf course, if I'm not mistaken. I think he said he was playing 18 holes today. Brendan Perlini, welcome back. Brendan, how are you?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, you got that right. Just stepped off the course.
There you go. Was it a good round, or was it just you made a mess of things?
No, it was. Yeah, I had it rolling out there for a while, and tough track though. The wind got up. It's a really linksy course, and back nine the wind got up, so we were a little bit all over the place. But yeah, good fun. We don't get too many opportunities like with my dad and brother and everyone being home, so it's nice to get out there, But how you boys doing?
I love it. Great to see you, Brendan. Hope that all is well. Great that you got a family round of golf in today. We'll let you talk about your YouTube channel, of course, before the end of the show. You're doing great work with that. Brendan's YouTube channel, great content that he's putting out there. We're going to go about this a little bit differently right now. Instead of just one person, well, we are going to talk individually, a chance to break down the series. But we're going to start with an informal Ice Guys show poll right now. And the poll is very simple. Just a show of hands between all of us here, me, Alex, Matt, Perlo, Alex Bolduc, Luke Adam, Brendan Perlini. Who is riding with the Florida Panthers in this series? There we go. Looks like 1, 2, 3. We've got Alex B. Smith, Matt Robinson, Perlo on the Florida Panthers in this series, which means the rest of us, we might be schmucks, but the rest of us are going to be on the Edmonton Oilers. Hands up. There you go. Alex Bolduc, Luke Adam, Brendan Perlini, and yours truly. All looking at the Edmonton Oilers here in this series. We will start with the Florida arguments. So it's almost like this is a court case here. You give your arguments, And then we'll let the jury is going to be the viewers and listeners out there. If you're undecided. I mean, I'm sure many of you have already picked the Panthers to win. A lot of you have probably picked the Oilers to win as well. I've got my reasons for Edmonton, but we'll start with the Florida arguments as to why the Florida Panthers are going to repeat as Stanley Cup champions. Alex, we'll start with you on this one. Your case for the Florida Panthers to repeat as Stanley Cup champs.
If we roll back to when this show started 7 years ago and we were talking about the Florida Panthers, they were the butt of most of our jokes. We talked about how most of the fans were dressed up as empty seats, that there was no one there, the team sucked. Why is there even a hockey team in Sunrise, Florida? Where the hell is Sunrise, Florida? And now here we are talking about the 3-time Prince of Wales Trophy champions, the defending Stanley Cup champions, and a team that had the chance to change history, change the course of hockey, certainly in the Sunshine State, but just overall. And this is a team that has done it getting better and better as the series goes on. And they look stronger right now than they did a year ago when they beat Edmonton to win the Stanley Cup. They have a solid defensive unit. They're getting great goaltending from Sergei Bobrovsky. We've been saying it for the last 3 years now. We've seen the best goaltending of his career from Sergei Bobrovsky, and we wonder how long can this continue? Well, it's literally been 2 calendar years, 3 seasons, where we've seen him be one of the top 5 goaltenders in the world, and he has shut things down and has helped Florida get back to this position yet again. Matthew Tkachuk, he's the heart and soul of this team. We saw, where his game elevated more from the Four Nations tournament and that experience. We've seen him as a true bona fide leader. And there's so much depth on this team now. When you add a guy like a Brad Marchand to this group, a guy who has gone through all the wars of the playoffs year after year, who won a Stanley Cup, knows what it takes. He just another solid voice to have in that room. And then you top it all off with the greatest coach in the league right now, Paul Maurice. This is a solidified unit. There's a reason why Florida has been to the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row, and the reason they won it last year. And there's a reason they're going to win it again this year. They're simply just a better team. Edmonton's been fantastic all year long, but their depth is a little bit weaker than it was last year. They still have to rely so heavily on Connor McDavid. Yes, Stuart Skinner has emerged as being one of the better goalies, certainly during this postseason. But I think Bobrovsky and company hold it down better on defense. I trust the offensive depth a bit more with Florida, and for that reason, I like Florida to win it in 6 games. I got Florida to win game 1 and the series. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I also have Florida to win in 6, and I have the exact series order as well. I'll mention later on in the show.
Right. You know what? I can't dispute any of that. I cannot dispute any of that. I mean, that's why it's the Stanley Cup final, folks. These two teams are here for the second straight year, both of them. You can make great cases for Florida winning. You can make great cases for Edmonton winning. That's why it's a series I'm very excited about. We know that Matt Robinson has declared his allegiance for the Florida Panthers. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that Edmonton bounced Dallas from the playoffs for a second straight year. But Matt, have at it. Florida Panthers repeating as champs. Why?
No, I mean, again, my hand was very halfway up. It's not like I have a lot of bets on this pre-series. I don't have a stern feeling like Florida's definitely winning this series or anything even close to that. I think, for me, what's been weird with the Edmonton side of things, it happened in the LA series, it happened in the Vegas series, and then it just happened in the Dallas series. Is it almost seems like teams are fizzling out towards the end of the series. And, I don't really know if that's 100% Edmonton wearing teams down or if teams are just fizzling out and Edmonton, is in the right place at the right time to make a good run. But it's weird because going into the Dallas series, I felt, what happened to Vegas in game 4 and 5, 2 shutouts in a row, one of them at home, it just seemed odd. Maybe it's just a fluke and, Dallas is going to, be a better team against Edmonton. And, same thing sort of happened early in the series. It was kind of back and forth. Both teams were in it after 2 games, 1-1. Never really felt like Dallas was dead until maybe that game 4 to make it 3-1. But, it just those last few games, I mean, yeah, they had their chances in the final game. They're always going to get that last push in the last game, but it just seems weird how teams have sort of fizzled out. So, that's what's hard for me is because, going into the playoffs, Florida, especially after that Tampa Bay series, everyone's like, all right, they're the team to beat. They're the most complete team. Bob's playing out of his mind. But it's going to be interesting if, we get to game 5 and Florida starts fizzling out, then it's something obviously that Edmonton's doing. But to me, the biggest X factor is going to be Stuart Skinner. Can he continue playing as well as he's played in these last couple rounds? He's given them a chance to win every night, and I think that's what you ask from your goaltender, but it hasn't always been that way with him. So, finally he's going to get that pressure against Florida again. So, I don't know. I agree with Alex. I think Florida's the deeper team. It is hard to bet against the 2 best players in the world. You saw Dallas was inching back in that last game of the Western Conference Finals, and then McDavid goes, zone to zone and buries a breakaway. So, they're stepping up at the right time. So it's hard to bet against those guys. But as much as, maybe Edmonton has a little bit less depth this year, I think Florida's added to their depth. They've got playoff, experienced guys like Brad Marchand. Seth Jones has had a good playoffs. He's in a different role than he had to be in, maybe in Chicago. He doesn't have to be the go-to guy every second. So you're seeing some big plays out of him. So I think it's going to be a great series. Again, I think my siding with Florida is a little bit heavier on the depth, heavier on the goalie. But there's been, teams I probably would have said had more depth and a better goalie than Edmonton in the last couple of rounds. And here we are with Edmonton back in the finals. So I know that wasn't a very convincing argument for anyone on the bubble. I think I'm right there with you. I do expect some goals in this series, despite having 2 good goalies playing good. So hopefully we hit a few overs, especially early in this series.
That I do agree with, and we'll get into game 1 specifically in just a bit. But that's usually the thought process for me, is that especially when you're talking about teams off a long layoff, defense is not always locked in immediately at the beginning of series. When you're talking about time off, like both of these teams, obviously with Florida, they finished Carolina last Wednesday, and of course Edmonton finished Dallas off last Thursday. So you're talking a full week for for Florida, and almost a full week for Edmonton as far as a layoff prior to game 1 taking place tomorrow night. Perlo also is on record saying that he thinks the Florida Panthers will be repeat Stanley Cup champions. Perlo, tell us why. And he's trying, but he's muted.
Sorry about that.
There
I'll try to make it okay. Let's go first to the LA series. I think everybody on the panel here believes, maybe not the panel here, but Ian and Alex believe that Edmonton doesn't even win that series if you switch coaches. Simple as that. They don't win that series if you switch coaches. So now you ask me, would Toronto beat LA? I say yes. You asked me if Florida would beat LA. I say yes. So you asked me if Carolina would beat LA. That would be tougher. I think LA might be able to take that, but I think LA would give them a good go. So they want a series where they really didn't, as far as I'm concerned, they won because of a bad coach, and that's really all I think the reason why they won. Then you go into the next series. Vegas didn't look good going into the playoffs at all. The last 3 weeks, they just didn't look good. There's something missing there. Turns out Hurdle was injured. Stone was very injured. Really hurt their depth quite a bit. And I just didn't think as a team that they were very good going in. And Edmonton, I mentioned this when I brought it up with the Dallas series as well. So I think Edmonton had a pretty easy run there against Vegas, to tell you the honest truth. Now Dallas. Okay. Dallas, by the time they got to the 3rd round, they were not a good team. Duchesne, Seguin, and Ben were pretty much non-factors in that series. And once you took them out, this is not easy, but they had Rantanen, Robertson, Johnston they shut down, but they really more or less had to focus on those guys rather than them. They just didn't look good. Ben looked like he was swimming in a swamp the whole time. And for some reason, DeBoer kept on putting him up on this top 6, which is another thing altogether, whether DeBoer should come back or not. So, yeah, in even that being the case, Dallas did outplay Edmonton on a few of those periods quite a bit. Unfortunately, they had no sting on their shots. They were shooting from the perimeter, and I honestly think they made Skinner look good. I don't think they really had too many. If you look at the, if you go to Money Puck, it'll say high danger chances, but those high danger chances don't take into account the sting they had on their shots. And I found that they didn't really have all that much, and a lot of them were from perimeter. So I asked myself again, would Carolina beat Dallas? I think just about any team that made it to past the first round would have beat Dallas. I think Carolina would have beat them. Florida obviously would have beat them. I think Toronto would have beat Dallas. So in the third round. Now, if you play them in the first round, it was different. They had fresh legs and everything like that. They beat Colorado, and that's different. But they were a different beast when it comes to the third round. So I think Edmonton had a fairly easy run of it now. So now I have to ask myself, is it because Dallas was so good that they shut these teams down? And it doesn't mean that they're not so good. It's not their problem that these teams had these problems. Which case I go directly to the roster, and this is the way I look at it. I think Kane, Kapanen, Frederick, Henrik, Brown, Podkolzin, Arvidsson, and Janmark would not play in the top 3 for the Florida Panthers. Simple as that. All of those players would not play in Florida Panthers' top 3 lines. And that's pretty much how many did I go over with there? So I just think that Florida forward depth is going to hurt them. I think Edmonton's defensemen are actually deeper than Florida's. But I think Florida's two-way play of their top 9, which is probably the best we've seen since back in when LA was winning cups, makes up for a lot of the deficiencies that they have on defense in their depth. And they showed that against Carolina, and they showed that against Toronto. Also against Toronto, I went back and watched that over and over again. I don't think Florida played their best game in Toronto. I agree with Alex. They got better as it went on. And now I think they're playing probably at the best, if not that they played. I don't know if it's better than last year, but they're playing at their best right now. So I think the only way Edmonton wins this series is if Florida reverts back to not playing like they did against Toronto. If McDavid just goes Superman and Draisaitl goes Superman, that's not impossible either. Or like what happened last year and what happened to Carolina in the 4th game, that Florida starts trying to win too soon and not play in the process that allows them to win. Paul Maurice said that. Their biggest advantage they have is they're patient. They look for their spots, and they always have full belief in their abilities to beat any team. I think Edmonton has that too. I just think that Florida has the much deeper forwards, and in the end, that's going to take over, and that's why I have Florida, and I have Florida in 6.
There we go. That's the one thing I'll say, whether you agree or disagree with the first 3 people that have given their case for the Florida Panthers, Alex, Matt, and Perlo. They've done a hell of a job giving their case. I mean, that's a lot of good arguments. You know, I'm nodding as someone on the other side with a lot of those points because a lot of those points are valid, even as someone that's going on the other side. All right, that's it. Get this Florida Panthers bullshit out of here. It's time to hear some Edmonton Oilers praise and love here on the Stanley Cup Final Preview Show, because the rest of us, the 4 that have not spoken yet, we all like Edmonton to avenge last year, win the Stanley Cup, and give Connor McDavid finally his first Stanley Cup. We'll start with Alex Bolduc on this one. Alex, your case for the Edmonton Oilers, who you're picking to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think Florida is amazing. I love them too. It's hard to bet against them, but I just think it's always that narrative of the big boys like Ovechkin losing until he wins, or, you know, coming close and then just finally they fucking get the hurdle done. And then I think it's just that year. Florida is, I thought they were like my favorite team to watch all playoffs so far. I love how hard they play. It was like 6-1 games sometimes, and they're still finishing every hit. Like, really brought it back to like old school hockey. I thought that was so fun. I just think this time Connor and Leon are when they're like and they're healthy and they have this nice break going into the final. It's just tough to bet against them. Simple as that. Pretty much, it's like an easy reason to pick them. But if they're on top of their game, the best players in the world can contain them. So not saying Florida can't do it, obviously, but I just think those two reasons. Hyman getting out really hurts, but I think just that motivation of getting there so close last year, knowing what it takes to get there, knowing what it takes, maybe that's that little hump. They've seen it. I feel like it's always. And Connor's whole career is such a nice little narrative of winning the Four Nations, and I think it's his time, and that as simple as that, really.
There you go. Good case.
Yeah.
Very cut and dried. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Alex Bolduc, Luke Adam, you're on the Edmonton side. Give us your reasons.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Alex is saying. I mean, biggest reason for me is they have the two best players in the whole league. It's hard to bet against a team that has the two best players in the whole league that also have never won. Last year, I think they gained a ton of experience, which, anyone that has watched or played knows how important that is to be in those situations. And, you dream of being in those situations, but until you're actually in them, then maybe you don't really know how hard it is. And I think they found that out last year, being down 3-0 before they, the series was even going, and, they go to 7. Just maybe a little too late. I just think they're a better team this year, Edmonton. More depth, way more depth up front. Whether those players are the top tier echelon players, they're still better players than they had there last year. Better on D, I think, too. Hyman does hurt a lot, being him going out. I hate to see that. He's obviously a huge piece of that team, but you got a guy like Corey Perry that steps into that role on the power play, and you see him in the last 2 games against Dallas, and he looks like he's been playing there. I mean, he has been playing there his whole life, but on that unit, when you're playing with those guys, you get into the right spots, they're going to find you. I just think that it's destiny, really, for Edmonton to win this series. Florida's a great team. There's no doubt about it. They're hard to play against, but I think it actually favors Edmonton that they played against each other last year. If they were playing a different opponent, maybe I would have more of a thought, but I actually think it's beneficial that they're actually playing against the same team they played last year. Yeah, there's some different pieces, some more experience over there maybe that they added. They did a great job at the deadline as well. Obviously, you guys mentioned Marchand, like Bob and Net, amazing goalie. But I think it's beneficial that Edmonton knows what they're getting with Florida. They know what's coming. There's not going to be many surprises, and they have home ice advantage. I think they've lost 1 game in the playoffs at home, and I think it was that game where they blew it late there, which should have went to overtime. I like them. I like that they're at home. I like that they got the best player in the world that looks like he's on a mission that, I don't know if anyone can stop it. And, I'm definitely taking them. And I mean, it's the Stanley Cup Finals. I expect it to go long, but nothing's going to shock me if this is quicker than people think it is, just because of, them being at home in games 1 and 2, and you never know. But it's going to be a great series, and looking forward to watching it for sure.
It should be. Like I said, I'm excited. I mean, I couldn't care less that this is the same 2 teams. I think the storylines are that good. The quality of the 2 teams is that good, that strong, that it's going to be a great Stanley Cup final. I'm excited to see it being run back all over again for a second straight year. Brandon Perlini, you've got the floor next. Now, you do have an Edmonton Oilers connection. I don't know if that factors into the decision a little bit, but tell us why you like the Edmonton Oilers to avenge last year.
Yeah, quick shout out to Alex Dookie there. We were former teammates in Portland, and he played with my brother as well.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Yeah, Nottingham.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well, dude.
Yeah, man. Nice to see you, bro. It's been a minute.
Yeah. It's it's funny.
I didn't realize that was Luke Adams too until he said his name. That's cool. I remember both you guys.
It's the Ice Guys Stanley Cup Final and preview and reunion show. Apparently.
Yeah.
I wasn't told.
It's such a funny thing. We were just talking about this the other day too. Guys you come across and then you don't see for a while or whatnot, or little things you remember about guys and whatnot. And quick story, like when I came into Portland, like I was like a 18-year-old kid, just finished junior and stuff. They sent me there after the season. They gave me the scraps of gear, right? Just shit gloves. And I always remember Dookie being like, "Man, don't use it. Here, take my backup one." So I took it, straight from his locker. He gave me his gloves. I always remembered that. No, I appreciated that stuff. So
I remember they're cheap with the equipment there. That's for sure. I remember.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You got the Florida International football treatment, Brendan, because Florida International, they're so fucking broke with their football program. They had to use spare, reused like pads and helmets from other people, and other programs. No, that's not good.
No, I mean, as far as the series and stuff goes, I mean, yeah, all those guys, everyone's kind of covered it really. So I'll keep it decently short. But I'm a big believer in like fate per se, and I think it's just McDavid's time. Same thing. Like obviously Four Nations. You look at like he's taken a very similar path to like Sid, right? And all the stuff he's done and first overall and crazy point totals and whatever. You look at Sid, he played against the Red Wings, they lost in 08, then they come back, they play him in the finals, they win 09. Like, I don't know, I'm leaning heavy towards that side. It's hard to argue like against Florida just because I think they've gotten better this year with Seth Jones, Marchand, those type of guys. But going to the finals 3 years in a row is like pretty tough. It's long. I don't know. I got the feeling for Edmonton. I think they're, it's McJesus' time.
No,
that's
McJesus' time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Which brings it to me, last but not least, here to explain why and this was hard. Matt alluded to it a little bit. This was not easy to pick a winner in this series. You think I like lining up against the Florida Panthers? You think I'm excited about doing that? I'm happy about doing that? No. Would I be shocked if the Florida Panthers win and repeat as Stanley Cup champions? No. They are friggin' a beast. There is no denying that whatsoever. But Brendan hit on some of the points that eventually turned me toward not only picking Edmonton in this series, but actually betting them to win the series as well. Look, let's start off with the negatives first so that we can end on a high with this Edmonton argument. The negatives are Zach Hyman's absence is huge. Like, there's no getting around that. This is a guy that has led the team in hits. We know what he can do offensively. We know he can get to the areas of the ice you need to against a team like Florida to score goals because it's difficult, to get any room against them. And Zach Hyman would have been just the type of player that would have been such a benefit to the Edmonton Oilers in a series like this. And to not have him for the rest of the playoffs, I don't want to say devastating, but it hurts big time. And this is definitely something that the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to overcome here if they win this series. But things that I like about Edmonton going into this series, just from an X's and O's and the personnel standpoint, we know Florida, and Paul Maurice summed it up very well a couple days ago. We think since last year when we met in the Stanley Cup final, he said, we feel we've gotten better with our depth offensively, and it's hard to dispute that. All four lines are contributing for the Florida Panthers, but he also said Edmonton's gotten better with their own game defensively since last year's Stanley Cup final. I also think that's fair. You look at how Edmonton's learned the hard way how they have to play to win games in the playoffs, and that's buying in to team defensive concepts. I mean, could you picture a Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Edmonton Oilers team certainly before last year, and even at times last year, but this year, winning games in times the way they have, just stifling teams? I mean, Dallas in one game in the series in the conference final, they needed to win game 4 in Edmonton. Like, they're down 2-1. They lose that game. They're down 3-1, and it felt like the series was over. They had 4 shots on goal in the third period, 4, in a game that they had to win. That's Edmonton learning how to get it done in the playoffs. You got to commit, play 200 feet, both ends of the ice, all 3 forwards on the ice at the time, both D, a 5-man unit in all 3 zones to play the right way. And Edmonton has found a way to play that way. And and obviously Florida's been the blueprint of that, because they've always played that way. Edmonton got a taste of it last year. And, I think it's rather remarkable that Edmonton was down 3-0 in that series and yet still found a way to force Game 7, really make Florida sweat. And to the point where we're entering Game 7 and wondering, is Florida really going to blow a 3-0 series lead and lose this series in 7 games? And they nearly did. And of course, game 7 was a coin flip. Could have went either way. It was a 2-1 Florida win in game 7. Bob, goalie Bob, as I call him, Sergei Bobrovsky, or as Charles Barkley would call him, Sergei Bobobka. I'll never forget that. But yeah, Sergei Bobrovsky was excellent, obviously, in that game 7 last year. And Edmonton falls just short. And some of this too, and we talk about how even in the parts of the playoffs that Edmonton did not have Matthias Ekholm, how everybody stepped up. I never imagined Kulak and Klingberg and Wallman, and obviously Nurse and Bouchard were a disaster at the beginning of the LA series, and to see their game just improve so much when's the last time they've made those serious gaffes defensively? Nurse and Bouchard. It's been a while. And I don't think you can undersell the impact. And I've said that I'll bring up his name again, Paul Coffey, on the coaching staff for the Edmonton Oilers and what he's done to work with this D. This D was not supposed to do this without Matthias Ekholm. Everybody that was, pontificating on the Edmonton Oilers playoff hopes going into the playoffs said, with no Ekholm, no chance for this Edmonton D. And they proved otherwise. They've played really sound defense in this series. They've learned how to work as a group. And now they get Matthias Ekholm back at the end of the series against Dallas, and now they're going to have him for this entire Stanley Cup final. So it just makes a blue line that we questioned going into the playoffs, that learned how to win, learned how to play the right way without Ekholm, and now you bring him back here for the Stanley Cup final. That can only help. Talk about the offense and how in years past it's been too much on the plate of McDavid and Draisaitl, and years with Tippett, years with Woodcroft, years with some of these other coaches besides Knobloch. They would play McDavid and Draisaitl. They'd run the horses until the horses were burned out. And too much ice time, too much on their plate, and not enough production and contributions from the non-Draisaitl and McDavid participants for the Edmonton Oilers in the past in the playoffs. And we're not seeing that this year. We're seeing everybody chip into the Oilers' cause. Just like for Florida, how one night it can be Verhaeghe, one night it can be Coolmint Lusterinen. One night it can be Anton Lundell. One night it can be Marchand. One night it can be Sam Bennett. Now for Edmonton, we're finding out they're not just this year with the way they've played Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. One night it can be Connor Brown. One night it can be Kasperi Kapanen. Think about the great coaching that Knobloch has produced here. To put that, have the thought process to put this guy that hasn't played a lick for the Oilers into the playoffs there in the Vegas series, and he hasn't looked back. This guy's been hounding pucks. He's been winning battles. He's been physical. He's been scoring big goals. He has been a big-time impact for the Edmonton Oilers. And Knobloch, we have to thank for that. So you're getting unsung heroes stepping up for the Edmonton Oilers in a very impressive fashion. You've Matthias Janmark. We're hearing that name again. Starting to make things happen. Like I said, the blue lines played better. And most of all, before I wrap up my case for Edmonton, there you see it. Skinner! Stuart Skinner, folks. You want to bet against this guy in a game 4 through game 7 in a Stanley Cup playoffs? Go for it. Knock yourself out. I'm not interested anymore. He has shown me enough now, Stuart Skinner, with what he's done in these situations. He was 10-0 going into game 7 of the Stanley Cup final last year. 10-0 in games 4 through 7. That's still his only loss the last 2 years in game 4 through game 7 of a Stanley Cup playoff series. Stuart Skinner, his only loss in a game 4 through 7 in a Stanley Cup playoff series the last 2 years was game 7 of the final last year. That's it. So this, and the numbers are ridiculous. What is it, 13-1, 14-1 as a starter in games 4 through 7, 940 some save percentage, multiple shutouts. The difference last series against Dallas is this guy actually figured out after game 1, when Dallas came back and won in the third, how to play in game 2 and game 3. Play well, that is. And that was the difference. So if you're the Florida Panthers, you really want to make sure you try to get out to a series lead. You don't want games 4 through 7 Skinner showing up here and you're in a tied series after, let's say it's 2-1 Edmonton after game 3. You might be in some trouble. If you're the Florida Panthers, given that game 4 through 7 track record. Look, Florida's a juggernaut. All 4 lines can contribute. The D is loaded. No question about that. I mean, excellent. Is there a weakness on the D for Florida? When you look at their blue line top to bottom, and I think a couple of the pro Florida argument folks on this show mentioned it about Jones and how he has just been terrific and fit in perfectly. He doesn't have to be the guy on this team as far as on the blue line, because you can rely on Aaron Ekblad, you can rely on Gustav Forsling, Nico Mikkola, and even your depth defensemen like Nate Schmidt and Dmitry Kulikov are very solid. But again, with the Edmonton Oilers blue line, you can say that maybe overachieved with Ekholm, Bouchard, Nurse, Kulak, Bouchard, Nurse, Kulak, Wallman, Klingberg. That group has overachieved a little bit. But the fact is, whether they're playing over their heads or not, they're playing their best hockey when they need it the most. And if that continues, they're going to have a chance here. And now you bring your best guy back in Ekholm on that blue line. It can only help. And the one last thing I will say to state my case for Edmonton, Brendan Perlini said it. Sometimes you got to have a little gut feel for this shit. Sometimes you got to have a little inkling of his history, hockey history, and the way things have gone in the past. We will take a trip down memory lane to the two players who are in Connor McDavid's stratosphere as all-time generational hockey talents in their era. We'll start with Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky had his first chance at a Stanley Cup in 1983 with the Edmonton Oilers. Who did he play? The New York Islanders. And what happened that year? They lost to the New York Islanders. What happened the next year? And Gretzky said this on TNT multiple times. He said this very story. Walking past the Islanders dressing room after losing in the final in 83, we saw the celebrations, the cigars, the champagne, the partying going on, and it just ripped your guts out, and it made you realize how fucking hard it is to win the Stanley Cup. And it's a feeling that didn't leave me for the entire offseason. And wouldn't you fucking know it, what happened a year later? The Edmonton Oilers got another shot at those same New York Islanders in 1984, and Wayne Gretzky and the Oilers changed the script, flipped the script, and changed the final chapter, and won their first Stanley Cup. Gretzky's first cup, in particular, 1984 for the Edmonton Oilers against the Islanders team that beat them the year before. How about a certain number 87, Sidney Crosby? He had his first chance to win a Stanley Cup in 2008 against the Detroit Red Wings. First chance. Obviously, they fell short. Detroit Stanley Cup champions. Obviously, Sidney Crosby, the best player in the world at the time. Well, 1A, 1B was probably Ovechkin, but still, Crosby the best at that time for sure. And obviously, look, gut-wrenching to lose that Stanley Cup final in 2008 to Detroit. Well, he, just like Gretzky before him, has a rematch and a revenge opportunity in 2009 in the Stanley Cup final the next year against the same team that beat him the year before, the Detroit Red Wings. And what happened? That's right. Sidney Crosby, too, got his first Stanley Cup in 2009 against the Detroit Red Wings, the team that beat them the year before. So you've got Gretzky winning his first cup, beating the team that beat him the year before in 84. You've got Crosby beating a Detroit team in the Stanley Cup final for his first Stanley Cup in 2009 after losing to them the year before. And what do we have entering this year's final? We've got the perceived best player in the world at this moment, Connor McDavid, in the same fucking boat, looking to beat the team that kept him from winning his first Stanley Cup the year before. A chance at redemption against the very same team, just like Gretzky had in 84, just like Crosby had in 2009. And the final chapter, I believe, will be the same. Connor's learned. Leon's learned. The Edmonton Oilers have learned how you got to go about it, what needs to be done to get the job done. And I believe they will get the job done. There you go. So there you go. You've heard from everybody. So that is, I really am buying into that last part of my reasoning for Edmonton. I think that element of it is a big part of this. We will not be fucking denied this time mentality from Connor McDavid. You know, when I made my decision on I was probably going to take Edmonton in this series, and poor Matt Robinson, he doesn't deserve this, but I'll mention it anyway. The goal he scored against Dallas to put away that one game, where it was a breakaway goal. He's shooting the puck more, and he was shooting the puck a lot more at the end of the Dallas series as well. I'm like, this is a guy that looks like he's on a fucking mission. Like he really truly looks like he's on a fucking mission to get this done this time around. And I think they will. I think it's going to be a hell of a series, though, and it will be difficult. Make no mistake about it for the Edmonton Oilers, but I think they will find a way to get it done. All right, this is that part where before we get into specific series bets, I guess, that some of us are looking at, is there any rebuttals from anybody on the panel or any last things you want to say about this series before we get into that?
Yeah, I'll
No?
rebuttal.
That's pretty good. No?
I'll rebuttal. The Oilers series, when they played against the Islanders, they were better than the Islanders the first time they lost. And they were better than the Islanders the second time they lost. Edmonton's not a better team than Florida Panthers. It's just simple as that. McDavid is going to, I know McDavid is going to do what he's going to do. But we just got the Selke Trophy winner on the other side. Respectfully, I disagree that they have the two best players in the league. I think they have the first and third best players in the league. I think Barkov is the second best player in the league. I think Barkov is the best shutdown player we have seen besides like Bergeron. He doesn't get the respect of Bergeron, but he is that. And I don't think that Edmonton has gone against a team that has anywhere near a Barkov on their team. And I don't think they've gone up against a team that has anywhere near. Let's put Lundell, Luosterainen, and Marchand could shut down any of the teams in the playoffs top line alone. Forget about the Barkov and Reinhart, who were 1-2 for the Selke, by the way. Forget about that they are probably the best shutdown line we've seen in a very long time. And then you got Bennett, who's also a shutdown player. Rodriguez doesn't get anywhere near enough respect for how good he is as a shutdown player. They've got 3 shutdown lines. I love the desire is great. You think Florida doesn't have a desire to become a dynasty? The Islanders were already a dynasty when they lost that. Florida's trying to become a dynasty.
Yep.
And I believe they can become a dynasty. So I understand the arguments, and it's cool, and I think it's going to be a great series. But I just find the arguments, they just don't resonate with me enough. And as far as the gut is concerned, and the desire, and the it's McDavid's time. Maybe I'm just too much of a statistics guy, but I can't put any equation to that. I think that if that's what you're holding on to and you're not the better team, I think you're probably in tough. That's my rebuttal.
All right, good stuff indeed. So it's just so I know, because we're going to go around the horn with any pre-series bets that we're obviously all have some. Alex will have some. Matt will have some. Anybody else raise your Perlo? Anybody else, if you've got series bets or series opinions on any potential wagers for the series, raise your hand.
Oh, potential wagers for the series, like before the season started?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've got Florida Panthers before the season started. So.
There you go. Okay, very good. No, I'm talking about like for series bets, because if you look at FanDuel, Bet365, all those, you're going to see obviously goals. You know, who's going to score a goal in the series, 2 goals or more. Yeah, those kind of exactly.
I've got prop bets.
There you go. We'll let Perlo go. Yep.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of series bets. So how do you want to go about who goes first, or
we'll
go last on that?
Yeah, we'll go with Perlo here. Yeah.
All right, Perlo. Yeah, you go first, Perlo, and then.
Mine's pretty simple. I just took Luosterainen to get over 1.5 goals in the series at plus 340.
Good price.
Yeah, I got Bennett to score 2 goals in one game at plus 150. I have McDavid to score a point in every game. I hope they don't get shut out at plus 170. And Hopkins to get a point in every game at plus 1,200. That's my prop bets. Series bet, I'll let Alex go because it sounds like we're on the exact same thing. So.
Yeah, so I have series to go correct score. Florida Panthers 4-2 plus 490 is best price available. I'm seeing at FanDuel. I think all of these best prices are FanDuel. Florida Panthers to win game 1 and Florida Panthers to win the series plus 220. I grabbed plus 375 as soon as I opened that bet MGM. That price went down, and now 220 to 225 is the best that you'll find available. And I have the series correct win order. Florida to win game 1, Edmonton to win game 2, Florida to win game 3, Edmonton to win game 4, Florida to win Game 5 and to win Game 6 to close it out. That's now 48-1. I grabbed 45-1 a couple of days ago, but that's plus 4,800 at FanDuel. So those are the 3 series bets that I have. And I also have Jesper Boquist to score 2 or more goals, plus 265. I grabbed that at DraftKings. He may not draw in every game. That's kind of a way of just hedging that if he gets a couple of spots in the series, he scores at least 2 goals within it.
He's their Nick Robertson. We've talked about Nick Robertson for
Yeah.
Toronto. Every time he goes in the lineup, he scores. That's kind of like what we saw to Jesper Boquist. You put him in the lineup, he scores for the Florida Panthers. So the 2 goals or more for Jesper Boquist. I could definitely see that. I will go with a few. I'm not peppering the board with series props or series bets, other than to say that I've got a split between Edmonton at minus 128 to win the series and the Edmonton Game 1 Edmonton series combo. That's Edmonton to win Game 1 and Edmonton to win the series, which is, I think, at FanDuel currently plus, let me just see here, the combo. It was like 148. Yeah, plus 148 for the combination there. Edmonton to win the series and Game 1. I actually like what Alex is thinking with Boquist. I think that is a bet I'll be on too, the Boquist one. Again, because I like Edmonton in the series doesn't mean we can't bet Florida series props. You'd be foolish not to. You should diversify your portfolio. What if Edmonton gets crushed in the series? I don't think so, but what if that happens? I don't want to lose everything. You got to have some Florida stuff mixed in, even if you like Edmonton here in this series. So I like the Boquist look. For me, my favorite, as far as who's going to score 2 goals or more, this price is a steal if the last round's any indication. And if he's going to stay on the top line for Edmonton, Corey Perry, minus 110. My goodness. He's going to play. It looks like, once again, why would Chris Knobloch change it with Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins? Looks like Perry's going to play on that top line here in this series. Why would, and we saw obviously what he's done, with that opportunity up there on the top line. He's basically going to take the Hyman spot with Zach Hyman injured and out. So to get minus 110 at FanDuel with Corey Perry to just get
105 at DraftKings.
Yes.
Even better price at DraftKings.
Best series, player series prop right there, in my opinion, at least.
I like that.
Is that one.
We'll take that.
Yeah, it's Corey. I know he's 40, but come on. We're asking for just 2 goals when he's going to be on the top line with Connor McDavid, who can make a broomstick look good, and, of course, a power play. He's going to get peeper time as well on the power play for this Oilers team. No question about that. Kane and Kapanen, who are going to play with Draisaitl, it looks like, from what I'm seeing the line combinations being to start the series here for Edmonton. They're worth a look. I don't like them as much as Perry. Perry to me is my favorite, but you can certainly get Kasperi Kapanen. Now, this is minus 145, but just to get a goal in the series, minus 145 on Kapanen, why not? Plus 390 on Kapanen to get 2 goals in the series. And keep in mind, our great friend of the show, Jonathan Davis, knows this, and he's been giving us, passing along the numbers for the first goal and the last goal of the game. Kasperi Kapanen's become an empty net goal machine for this team. He scored an empty net goal in Game 4 against Dallas. He's always out on the ice in 6-on-5 situations when the Oilers are protecting a lead. So last I checked, empty net goals count for these series-long goal props. To get plus 390, for Kasperi Kapanen in this series, I think is absolutely worth a look at that price, worth a bet. There's no question. Brad Marchand's Mr. Stanley Cup, right? Plus 115 on Marchand. This is just really, for me, a guy that I expect to bring it, because when does he not in a series of this magnitude that we can get at plus 115, Brad Marchand finding the back of the net twice here in this series for the Florida Panthers. I don't even mind Barkov, from a goal scoring standpoint, because I find in the final he might, we know he's a great passer. The filthy pass he had for the game-winning, series-winning goal against Carolina, that pass was a thing of beauty to Verhaeghe. The goal that won that series and won that game for Florida. It was just a phenomenal. We know he's a great passer and facilitator, but might take the onus upon him to look for some more of his offense here. So those are just some of the props I'm looking at there. Those are the main ones that I just gave you. Edmonton in the series, Edmonton game 1 in series, Perry, Kapanen, Kane, because he's playing with Draisaitl as well. That Evander Kane, could be worth, plus 135 for him to get a couple goals. If he's going to play with the big German there, Leon Draisaitl, why not? So those are definitely some of the ones that I'm interested in there as far as props. Yeah, any Nugent Hopkins props. He, had a couple of games there where he finally was held off the score sheet, but you can't argue with what he's done as far as point production, playing with Connor McDavid on that top line for the Edmonton Oilers. I think for Florida, I'll give you a sneaky one that I think could be a difference maker. I don't know about goals, but Evan Rodriguez, I've got just something about him with Barkov and Reinhart. Playing with that duo. And I think Evan Rodriguez, whatever props you can find with him potentially in this series, worth a shot. We know from a point standpoint, assists especially, how productive he's been, but don't sleep on the potential that he might be able to find the back of the net here as well for the Florida Panthers in this Stanley Cup final, no doubt. So there you go. There we go. So we've done the series previews, given everybody the chance to state their case for the team they're picking. We've done our series bets, our series looks. And now just briefly, we'll do game 1 specifically. Then we'll go around the horn for final thoughts, bargain bin, best bet. We'll let Brendan promote the YouTube channel because it's worth mentioning with the great job he's been doing with it. But game 1, Stanley Cup final, Florida, Edmonton. This is tomorrow night. And remember, we got the live betcast tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, Patreon exclusive. So make sure you join us for that. Sign up on the page. We got Edmonton minus 130, home favorites in game 1, 6 the total. As you know, I'm on Edmonton to win game 1 in the series. So obviously I like Edmonton in game 1, but the reason for it is just because, look, they know they got down 3-0 last year. Can't afford that. You cannot dig a hole if you're the Edmonton Oilers if you're going to win this series. It's, I think, very important they have a better start this time around. Didn't they get shut out too in game 1 last year? I'm pretty sure they did in that first game down in Florida last year. It's up to Edmonton to have a different start. They've been phenomenal at Rogers Place. 6-1 is their home record here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But the counter argument is very clear if you like Florida in game 1, and that's that Florida's just got this all-time great road goal differential in the Stanley Cup playoffs going right now. So you could clearly, come back at anyone saying, well, Edmonton's great at home. Yeah, Florida's a machine, a monster on the road. You could definitely come back with that. There's no question. But what I think is different here is I remember last year, Edmonton's the team that had to make that long flight from Edmonton down to Florida for game 1, and they just looked off kilter in game 1, the Edmonton Oilers. And that. Now Florida's got to make that trip. Florida's got to make the long flight north to Alberta here for game 1. So maybe the kind of, stuck in mud kind of look that we saw from the Oilers in game 1 last year when they had to go all the way down to Florida. Maybe we get that out of the Panthers here this year in game 1, having to make that long trek to Edmonton. So, I'm on Edmonton here in game 1. I like the over by Fecta a lot. I think this is just too long a layoff. You're going to see some rusty play in the D zone from both teams, some mistakes, some turnovers, maybe some odd man rushes given up. Just the speed of the game, just getting back into that flow of intense, pace and physicality in the Stanley Cup playoffs after, for Florida, a whole week off and 6 days off for Edmonton. That's what could lead to some turnovers and defensive breakdowns. And also for the goalies. I'm not sure that Bobrovsky and Skinner, are going to be rock solid right on top of their game right away. To begin this series. So the over by Fecta I'm in on as well. First period over, full game over in this one as well. Alex, we'll go to you on this game 1, specifically on Wednesday night, Florida, Edmonton.
23-10. That's the road record for Florida the last 3 postseasons. This is a team that we talk about building a champion, what it takes to make it this far and win a Stanley Cup. There's a lot of things and a lot of factors. One of those things is winning on the road, having that business-like approach, and being able to take the air out of the crowd, take the air out of a building, and kill a team spirit early. Florida does that very, very well. And that's what you have to do, knowing that Edmonton has this home ice advantage, knowing that all the pressure really falls on them, just like it did last year. Florida, even with the big target on their back of being the defending Cup champions, with all the pressure in the world now is on the Oilers, the Canadian team, to finally break the long streak. McDavid to finally hoist his first championship. All the pressure is there. And so Florida can now play using that pressure to push up against Edmonton. And that's what I believe they do. I like Florida to score the first goal in the first period, plus 140. I like first period over. I like both teams to score. I do think Edmonton will certainly respond back to that punch. But obviously, like I said, I like Florida to win game one in the series, plus 220. So I do think they take care of business in this game. And I will be more likely looking for the over. But that's something I can wait for in the betcast. Try and grab a 5.5, laying $1.25 or $1.30 rather than go with the over 6. But I think Florida knows what they have to do. You have to wear on Edmonton. And you have to take this crowd out, take this team out early. Edmonton's going to deliver the punch back, and I believe that comes in game 2. But I like Florida to get the job done here in game 1, and I like that first period over, and we'll more than likely be adding that full game over in game on the betcast tomorrow night.
This is going to be the test, too. If you're Edmonton, there's nothing should shock you anymore. You got a taste of it with Florida last year. The physical and the mental tolerance you are going to need to beat these guys because they're going to hit you in every opportunity. That's the way the Florida Panthers play. You now know that because you played 7 fucking games with them last year in the Stanley Cup final. It's time, I think, that if you're Edmonton, you got to put yourself in that frame of mind where the physical and mental, just the way they play, like it can wear you down mentally, it can wear you down physically when you play a team like Florida. There's no question. Has Edmonton learned from last year to put themselves in the frame of mind that there's no hit that I'm going to take that's going to make you get me off my game and make me quit, and that's where we're going to find out if Edmonton's taken that step, ready to take that step this year when they play this team again.
And if you make that point, it's a series prop bet that I got to mention too, and Robert's talking about it in the chat. I got, will there be a fighting major penalty in the series? Yes, plus 600. That's available at Bet Online. I think we could see a fight, and it wouldn't shock me to see it in game 1 to stem the tide. Like you said, that they know this is going to be a physical battle. The refs know it's going to be a physical battle. It wouldn't shock me to see 2 guys just drop the gloves and go at it, and that will kind of maybe just kind of set the tone for the series.
I'd love to see that. Who's got the stones to maybe fight a guy like Bennett, though, for Edmonton? That's going to be the question.
Perry. Kane,
yeah.
Perry, even at 40, he I don't think he'd shy away.
Nurse would take him.
Worry how it would go for him, but yeah, he would. Bennett, man, I mean, he doesn't lose many. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, those were good.
It's the final.
Alex
Someone's
did
going to
that
step
a
up.
few times in his career, of course. Yeah. So he's a good person to ask. Who would you pick? Alex Bolduc, I'll ask this. Who would you hand pick to take on Sam Bennett from the Edmonton Oilers if you had to choose just one guy to do it?
Evander Kane for sure.
Evander Kane. That Trent Frederick's a good one.
I think Kane's tougher, but I think Bennett would probably go. I mean, I think Kane's a really good fighter, and I think they're evenly. They're both important to their teams. It would be a fair trade-off. It would hurt Florida a little bit more, but Kane's a good playoff player, man.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Perry's one. Frederick's a really good one, just because Frederick, he's got that that physical frame, I think, to at least hang in there against a guy like Sam Bennett. But like I said, I'm not saying Sam Bennett. Like, there's multiple guys that could do that for Florida. There's no doubt. But I'm just saying Bennett's the obvious one that kind of comes to mind. Or Gadjevich, but more so in the regular season, he was a guy that dropped the glove. Greer's a guy that's fought every now and then as well for Florida, no doubt. So it could be a bunch of different people there. So we've heard from Perlo, we've heard from Alex, heard from me. Matt, we'll go to you next. Any series, or not series bets, game 1, I mean, specifically Florida and Edmonton.
Yeah, so, I mentioned I very thinly margin lean Florida. And I'm looking at it kind of a little bit different than Alex, but with the same results. So, Edmonton has 1 loss in the playoffs at home this whole playoffs. But with that being said, they have lost game 1 in the other two rounds. They lost game 1 to LA. They lost game 1 to Dallas. Obviously, both were on the road, but both of them they gave up 6 goals in. So for that reason, I'm going to jump on. And these are light bets because, again, this isn't, I feel like, especially with how much time's been off, I have no idea what's going to happen in the series. I'm going to split up a Florida money line just with the value being plus 110 and a Florida team total over 3. on the off chance we get a 4-3 overtime Oilers win, kind of win your money back there. Over 3 is only minus 105, so it's basically a pick 'em. But where I'm laying a little bit more juice, I'm going to be on the first period over on its own, and then instead of taking the over 6 on its own, I'm going to take a first period over, full game over 5.5, same game parlay plus 115.
Matty Rob special for those of you that
Yeah.
aren't aware. Yeah.
Yeah. So that way, maybe we get a 1-1, first period, and then if the game ends 4-2 on an empty net, we clock everything from a totals perspective. So those will be the 4 main bets for me. And then I'll get into some props and stuff a little bit later. I don't know that I've ever had 2 bargain bins, and I've got 3 for this game. So we'll get into that at the end of the show.
Yeah, I've got a series and a game 1 bargain bin for the
as do I.
And a series and a game 1 best bet as well, which we'll get to in just a bit. Luke, game 1 specifically, anything you want to mention regarding game 1 for Florida Edmonton?
Yeah, I mean, I think Edmonton, I'm on Edmonton like we talked about before, but I think they're going to start the series well. I seen something there earlier, Edmonton over 3.5 team goals for the game, plus 120. So I don't mind that because kind of like Matt was just saying, I think it might be one of that 3 goals and hopefully get an empty netter to make it 4-2 type of deal. But 3.5, I kind of like that number to get some plus money. I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. Hasn't been a game in a week now. Goalies, like you said, might be a little rusty. Going to be fired up. Bouchard assists, basically even money right now just to get an assist. I like him to get an assist every game realistically on that power play. That's another one that I really liked. But as far as the series, I had Edmonton kind of similar. I did a similar thing last year. Edmonton to win 4-2 in the series at plus 475, and Edmonton to win 4-3 in the series at plus 450. So you kind of sprinkle on both. I mean, if you like Florida, you can sprinkle the same way. The odds are probably similar, but that way it kind of covers you to this series to finish in 6 or 7. But like I said, I could also see this being quicker than people are ready for. So I'm going to stay away from the series bets, but as far as game 1, I do like the over, and I like Edmonton in game 1.
There we go. By the way, I forgot to mention I'm on game 6-7 plus 190. I think both of them, and one of them hits its profit. I mean, I've gone to this well whenever I think it's going to be a competitive, long, very close series. That's always the tact. So yeah, game 6, game 7 sprinkles for me. Both of them at plus 190. And obviously if we get to 6 or 7, one of them's going to hit. So that's definitely what I'm looking at as well. Yeah, no doubt. Brendan, we'll go to you next. Game 1, how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much on the bets and whatnot side, but I like Edmonton for number 1. I think they're probably going to come out buzzing, to be honest. I think
that's part of the reason why I like them too, Brendan.
Yeah, I think
you were down 3-0 to this team last year, and now you got a chance at them now. Set the tone. Just show this team that, hey, we were pissed at the way it ended last year. We were heartbroken. We all saw the Amazon scenes, right? The Amazon documentary scenes last year, and Connor bawling his eyes out after losing game 7. And Zach Hyman said, I know we're going to fucking get back there, boys. I know we're going to get back there. We all saw those gut-wrenching scenes. Let's see you turn those gut-wrenching scenes into coming out storming tomorrow night in game 1 at home. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, totally. And I actually, I know somebody had mentioned earlier the pressure being on them. I think it's flipped. I think they're defending champs. They've been there 2 of the last years and whatnot. I think, at this point, it's like, man, nothing to lose. We lost last year. We're back. We're kind of, favorites in a way, but it's like they'll be thinking in the room, like all the pressure's on them. They're going for, back to back or whatever. And so I know that's how I'd be thinking in the room. So this time around, it's like, you know what? You ain't got anything to lose. So I don't know if you can swear or not, but I was gonna say, fuck it, we ain't got anything to lose. Let's just go for it, boys. So, I think most of the hockey boys on here would sort of agree with that in a way where it's kind of just playing light and loose, and I think those guys will probably come out buzzing. I think it's gonna be a split. I don't think they're gonna win both. I like them in game 1, Florida in game 2. Like Florida's really resilient, so they'll give a good pushback. But I don't know. I got the feeling that they're going to come out really hot. Obviously, great crowd in Edmonton too. That place will be absolutely buzzing there.
And I will say they've been a great crowd. There's no doubt they've been really,
Mhm.
really good in these playoffs. How that
Yeah.
building. Yep.
So as long as they get like decent goaltending, if Skinsey kind of makes all the saves he should, and I think let Connor and Leon kind of do their thing. Like, I don't know. I think they can just put the heat on really quickly on Florida in a very hostile environment, playing in that arena. So I know when I was on the other side, and we'd go in there when I was with Phoenix, it was just like, man, get me out of here. Like, and McDavid's going 300 mile an hour around the ice. You're just like checking the clock. Like, when's this thing done? Like, let's get on the bird and get home.
Some lean years with the Phoenix Coyotes when you were shooting out for them too.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that. Yeah.
So, but then when it was flipped, when I'm in Edmonton, you're loving that. It's like, just picking bones off the other team. So, I like them in game 1. That's for sure.
All right, Perlo, game 1, your approach. We got him muted. There we go. Turn your mic on there, Perlo.
I said, people make good points here. You go in thinking you got something, and you're like, well, maybe not. But I am going to go with the Panthers on this one. I understand Edmonton's going to come out hard. I don't really have much on the first period because I think you're right. I think Edmonton could win the first period. I think they are going to come out hard. But I think with that, it might be a little bit scattered. I think Florida is just going to be the more patient team in this game, and they're probably going to have to take quite the barrage from the Oilers in the first period. So if I were to lean anything, I would probably lean Oilers first period. But overall, I think the over is the play here. I do like the Panthers, so I'm taking Panthers and over 5.5, plus 330. There's a good one here for either team. If you like the Oilers or the Panthers, go to BetMGM where you can get both teams to score in regulation and Panthers or Oilers to win. The Panthers to win is plus 185 and Oilers is plus 165. I don't see a shutout here, so that you're getting a much better price.
Interesting look.
Just on both teams to score. So I like that one.
That is good. That's a good find. I agree.
Yeah. Panthers team total over 2.5 is minus 155. I like that a lot. Either way, if they win or lose this, I'm pretty sure I think they'll score 3. I also took a little bit over 3. I laddered it. And the over 6. And I have Panthers first to win the first game and to win the series. So I'm not personally taking Panthers money line on this game because of that. That's enough for me. But if I would probably take the Panthers to eventually win this game.
All right, Alex Bolduc, you're up next. What do you think for game 1?
Yeah, Edmonton too. And like everyone just said, a little rust. I think a little bit maybe sloppy play will lead to a couple more goals than normal. And it's just hard to tell. Florida's so good. Any team could come in and do some damage on the road after a long. You can use that, like Luke was saying, just the motivation of like wanting to kill. Like Florida's building that dynasty now, so I could see Edmonton being like, let's be dynasty killers, and then vice versa, like, hey, let's make sure McDavid never wins shit. I could see like both sides pumping each other up. So Florida is going to come in there heavy, but Edmonton, like we were saying before, I don't want to. I guess it's so typical to say like it's his time, but like the boys were saying, I think it is his time, and it's this guy's a legend, and he's already a legend, and he's going to go down as the best player ever for now, at least. And I think this is just going to add to his resume.
I
Big
don't
start
know.
for him.
Yeah, I don't normally buy into that, history nonsense,
Yeah.
but I'm buying into it big time
Yeah,
here. It
we
just
have to
feels
a bit.
too friggin'
I know.
similar to Gretzky in 83, 84, Sidney Crosby in 2008, 2000. And I know Perlo threw it back out there. The Islanders were winding down their little run when the Oilers finally beat them in 84.
He scores that Four Nations goal too. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like,
Yeah. But Crosby
You
beat
think of,
Detroit
like,
after
all the
Detroit beat him.
all the
Yep.
other sports too. Michael Jordan, like you go down the list of guys, right? It's like they had to beat this team and that.
yeah.
Finally break through. Right?
Yeah.
Who learned how to lose before they learned how to get that first championship.
Have to, yeah.
Yep. Jordan's a great example. How many times did Detroit Pistons just beat their ass until finally, Michael Jordan said enough?
Yeah,
and
at
they
least 2 or
finally
3
got
years
over the
ago.
hump against Isaiah and Lambeer and all those guys for the Detroit Pistons, and finally got over the hump. And then that was 91 when they finally won that first NBA championship. And then 6 championships later, one of the greatest dynasties of all time in sports. That 90s Chicago Bulls.
But
run.
we're not talking about Michael Jordan or the Chicago Bulls. We're talking about Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, who we've seen shit the bed time and time again.
Okay.
And this man's been the best player in the world for several years now.
Yeah.
And
There's
yet
a
we've seen
rebuttal.
him with no rings. I just want to put that out there. It ain't like he's just now the best player in the world. He's been the best player in the world. The best player in the world. Everybody's been saying this for quite some time now, and still nothing.
Ovechkin too, though. Ovechkin dominated for a while and never even got past like the second round.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like now he's considered like the biggest winner ever. That guy.
Well, he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. I wouldn't call him the best player ever either.
No, but he's a
Not
winner
the greatest
now.
winner as a team either. He still just got the one cup.
Yeah, exactly.
disappointing
Yeah.
second
Who
round
He's a
did
this
winner.
year.
Who did Washington beat in that final?
Ooh.
Vegas.
Exactly. You don't even know. This is the Florida Panthers.
You never finished. You'll never remember second.
Oh, the
place.
smack talk is starting now. Look at this. Oh, man. Hey, it's going to be a great series. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
denying that. That's why you can
Yeah,
make
it is.
good cases for everybody. There's no doubt. We have bargain bin special and best bets still to come. I know Brendan doesn't have them prepared already. So, Brendan, what we'll do is we'll let you go in a minute. But first, before we do that, talk about the YouTube channel, man. You're putting in the work. You're putting in the time with all these different creative topics about your past playing the sport, hockey. I know you're a big golf guy too. So you've been, you've done some golf stuff. You've done some, I'm sure, some Q&A stuff with your YouTube audience on your YouTube channel. But your content's good. It's evergreen. It's stuff that we're seeing current or former players starting to do this kind of stuff more, like a behind the scenes. But certainly from a hockey perspective, I mean, you can count maybe on one finger, Brendan, the people that are kind of doing what you're doing right now with that YouTube channel, with the stories and experiences, sharing those in YouTube form with everybody. Talk about that channel a bit.
Yeah, for sure. It's been really cool. It's something that started last year. For anyone who's seen me on the show here last year, obviously was just kind of starting it up, but I think just it appeals to everyone out there who's trying to get a look behind the scenes of what it's like being an athlete or specifically a hockey player, from a lot of stories from the locker room and my time in the NHL, or time now I'm playing over in Europe. So kind of just trying to I guess take a peek behind the scenes for everyone out there into kind of, okay, this is top players I played against, this is what it's really like to travel, this is what we do on the road, these are what NHL schedule is like, this is what a practice day is like, all these kind of things that to us, even the guys who have played on the podcast here, it's like second nature to us. But out there, people don't know what a regular day in pro hockey looks like, and especially across the different leagues, right? It changes between Europe and American League and NHL, and really just trying to give people a little more of an understanding of what that's like. And I'm sure even like a guy like Dookie there, obviously you have a ton of stories and play with a ton of guys along the way, and so even just I went and played with Team Canada some games in the Worlds there just a month ago. And
Yeah, talk about that. Like you're part of their camp. When they broke camp for the World Hockey Championship, you were with them.
Yeah,
For a period of time.
I had never met Sid up to that point too. And funny enough, like a month prior, I did a video, top 5 NHL players I played against, and he's obviously on there. And said during the video too, just at the end, like, oh, I'd love to meet him one day and just kind of shoot shit, whatever. And I don't even know why I really said it. It was just kind of finishing up a sentence. And then fast forward a month later, boom, sure enough, I end up, there, and he comes over. And so kind of just talk about my experience of what it's like playing with Hockey Canada. How do you get the call? What it was like meeting Sid, the conversations I had with him, all these kind of stuff. So for me, it's really cool because you can sort of blur the lines of at least like, I'm still a professional athlete and still do this, as my profession, but hey, kind of look at this, in the meantime. So, for anyone out there who wants to watch, it's going to be pretty much every Friday out on YouTube, and just search my name, Brendan Perlini, or, head to my Instagram or any socials really. And, you'll find it for sure.
No doubt. Yeah, exactly. Keep up the good work with that. I know you played in Europe this past year. And whatever the future brings you in hockey, we wish you, certainly all the best with that. I know you wouldn't ever say this to anybody or publicly or not, whether joking or serious, but, I'll say it anyway. Maybe if Brendan Perlini's on the team and maybe in the lineup, it would have been a different result against Denmark in that one game there.
I don't know about that. I mean, God, you got Sid and all those boys,
Who needs Sid? We got Brendan Perlini. Come on.
Jeez. Yeah, throw me in net, I guess. Eh?
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a shock, obviously. That was that reverberated around the hockey world that, Canada sending this great team to the World Hockey Championship. What, loaded, really, with Binnington and Fleury and net, Crosby and McKinnon, and just a loaded group, And,
well, if you want to hear a quick funny story, myself and my roommate there at the time, when we were playing the exhibition games, and we were both kind of like, after one of the games, I think we played Austria, we beat them like 5 or 6-1 or something, and we both kind of were talking about the game. We're like, you know what, I don't know if this team is gonna have it like to go all the way and stuff, and then sure enough, like the next day, Sid says like, yeah, I'm coming over. And then McKinnon coming over, this guy, that guy, Horvat, and then by the time
Crosby's going, McKinnon's not far behind. Those two guys are like brick and brack.
There's no way this fucking team's losing even a period, And sure enough, they end up crashing out. But it went from because obviously, it was in Sweden too, so I thought, Sweden's gonna be really good. All those teams would be good, but. It's what a cool thing though, just to get to experience that. I played with some cool players, Taze and Kane and Donor, and a bunch of guys along the way. But always wanted to meet Sid and play with him, so it was really cool.
Man, you got some time with Alex's near and dear Chicago Blackhawks, which we talked about the first time you were on, getting to play with some of those great players from that era, Kane and Taves especially. Good times indeed. But Brendan, we appreciate it, man. You're a friend of the show. We wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. And like I said, keep up the good work. Whatever's ahead for you in hockey, we wish you all the best with it. And certainly the YouTube channel. Keep rocking it with that.
Yeah, for sure, boys. Thanks again for having me. Good to see you guys. And hopefully go Oilers game 1, eh?
There you go. Well, that's going to get a combination of cheers and jeers here from the panel. Yeah.
All right, boys. Take care.
See you, Brendan. Good. Take care. Huh? Be well. All right, there you go, Brendan Perlini. Like I said, he said he'd be joining us probably an hour into the show. He was almost ready right from the hop, but good stuff indeed. All right, so the rest of us will be back with you in a moment. We're going to do bargain bin specials. By the way, just to reiterate, the ad break is about 3-4 minutes long. So if you got to rock a piss or do something here in the next couple minutes, feel free to do so. But then we'll come back. We'll do bargain bin special, best bet, and we'll wrap up the show. And again, a reminder, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, it's Game 1 live betcast, Stanley Cup Final. Panthers and Oilers, make sure you join us. And the only way to join us is to be a Patreon member. So make sure you sign up, patreon.com/iceguys, $10 per month. Again, daily betting card for the rest of the playoffs. We're going to have a summer betting card in other sports besides NHL during the off season. We got some player suite series interviews that we're going to line up in the next few weeks that we'll record during the off season as well with current and former players. That'll be exclusive to Patreon members. NHL free agency recap show in July will be exclusive to Patreon members as well. So reasons to stay on with your subscription through the off season. If you are so inclined. So make sure you check it out, $10 per month, and make sure you sign up before the betcast tomorrow night so you can be there to join us for that. $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. It's summertime. It's starting to get really warm just about everywhere, so it's a great time to get a new T-shirt, a new cap, maybe get a hoodie for the cold nights that come around as well. But we got everything you need right now at the Ice Guys store. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up to wrap up the show in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page.
Hey, Alex, have you checked out the latest with the great trading platform Kalshi?
Yes, I have. It's been fantastic. This is one of the first and only federally regulated prediction markets in the U.S. And if you're looking for odds for all kinds of different things, not just what we're talking about, the markets in the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, you can trade crypto. You can look for trades within the markets involving entertainment, politics. There's all kinds of different markets you can look for, and you can use the odds over at Kalshi.
Time of year to get involved with Kalshi. Certainly if you're a sports fan, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, baseball now underway, with all the different markets to create winning trades. Make sure you're checking out all that Kalshi has to offer.
Absolutely. And if you're trading with Kalshi, use the link kalshi.com/iceguys. You trade $100 or more, they will send you $10 back. So it's fantastic to use. Like I said, any kind of markets beyond sports. We're talking entertainment, politics, crypto, basically anything you want.
So make sure you sign up, kalshi.com/iceguys. Note that it's live on Robinhood and available in all 50 states, making it the first legal place to trade on these kind of events nationwide. Check it out, kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. And check out the trading platform Kalshi, sports, crypto, entertainment, politics, and more. Kalshi.com/IceGuys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. You can have one, you can have two, you can have three. It could be a series bargain bin special. It could be a game one bargain bin special. Anything and everything is on the table for this segment. Alex, we'll start with you. A bargain bin special of the night.
All right, we will go with a game one and a series bargain bin. My game one bargain bin is simple. I'm going for Carter Verhaeghe, first goal scorer, plus 1,700 at FanDuel. I think he's going to have a huge role in this series. He's just one of those guys who finds a way to give the Panthers a goal when they need it the most. And I think, like I said, they need to start off hot and early in this contest. So Carter Verhaeghe, first goal, 17-1. That's my game one bargain bin. My series bargain bin, it's going to be the exact series order. So we're going game one, Florida, game two, Edmonton, game three, Florida, game four, Edmonton, game five, Florida, and game six, Florida to close it out. That's plus 4,800 at FanDuel. That's my series bargain bin special.
That's definitely that's the equivalent of a lotto, but it's a hell of a price if it comes through. That exact series game by game result for Alex B. Smith with his series bargain bin special. For that. That's definitely one hell of a price if it hits. Matty Rob, we'll go to you next. Bargain bin special. I know you're just diving into the bargain bin. You said you had a few.
Yeah, I've got 3 for game one. This may be the only show during the series that I get on, so I'll throw a couple out there for it. I've got 1 from one team, 2 from the other. I know I mentioned, may throw a couple bucks on Florida in this first game. I actually have 2 bargain bins from Edmonton, so we'll try and have an even playing field. But as far as the Florida bargain bin goes, you mentioned, he's getting time with Draisaitl, but he's also playing on that top power play. I think Rodriguez to get a power play point plus 425. Edmonton's PK was great against Dallas, especially down the stretch after that first game where Dallas kind of exploded on him. But traditionally, that's been one of the weaker points for Edmonton. So I do think, if Florida's going to score a few goals in this game, they're probably going to get a power play goal or 2. And, maybe Rodriguez scores, maybe he just chips in with a second assist. But Rodriguez power play point plus 425. And then as far as Edmonton goes, I think, it's no secret that there's 2 guys on Edmonton that are going to overshadow the rest of the pre-scout in the Florida locker room. But really that top 6 in general is going to be getting looked at a little heavier than the bottom 6. I got 2 guys. They're both on absolute heaters, which is kind of a joke. One scored in the last game against Dallas. One is on a 2-game heater, scored in the last 2 against Dallas. Give me Janmark and Kapanen, both anytime goals. I've got Janmark at plus 950. He scored in that final game against Dallas. And then Kapanen plus 700. He scored the last 2 games against Dallas. I think, again, they're going to have a big focus on McDavid and Draisaitl. So if Edmonton is going to win game 1, they're going to need some depth scoring from those guys. So if one scores, it covers the bet from the other. So those are my 3. Rodriguez, power play point, and then Janmark and Kapanen, anytime goal scores.
All right, there we go. I like it. Matty Rob going to the bargain bin and coming out with bags full of goodies, if you will, from the bargain bin special of the night. Alex Bolduc, just a reminder, it's plus 300 or better odds. Is there player you got in mind for a bargain bin for game 1 or the series? Oh, shit, you're muted. Yep. That's all right. It happens to everybody. It happens to me, man. I still do that stuff.
Yeah, we all get it. Yep.
The experiment with doing it on my phone was not a success on my end. I don't know if it was bad for you. I apologize, but I'll make sure I have.
It's not that bad, actually. Yeah. Not that bad.
I like Kane. Does that count as a bargain bin? I feel I
read my script, man. That's all right. You rock with it. I love it too. I agree.
I put Kane and Nuge to both get a point that first game. I think the odds were good. Plus,
that's good.
It was a plus something nice there, but I forget. Yep. But yeah, and then on the other side, Lundell and Verhaeghe to both get a point in game 1. So I got a little bit of both on both sides there.
Very good. I like it. Yeah, a couple point stacks. There you go. A couple players, you pair them up for a point parlay in the that definitely would be plus 300 or more, both of them. And Evander Kane goal prop plus 350 for Alex Bolduc for a bargain bin special of the night for game 1. Our guy Luke Adam, and of course him and Matty Rob pretty in the same area now these days. Well, when it's hockey season, I mean, playing for the Tahoe. What the hell's the name again? Night Monsters, right?
Yeah,
that's the name. That's it. They had a great season still. They got to the second round. No complaints. But Luke, hopefully no complaints with your bargain bin special. What are you liking?
Yeah, I was trying to find something. It's always fun before the series starts to kind of find series odds and stuff like that. Like even something I found like to have series goal scorer like Corey Perry plus 2,200 to lead the series in goals. Like I think he already has like 7 or something. Like it's not far out now that Hyman's out. Like if Hyman's in the lineup and he's not on that power play, I don't think it's questioned. But I mean, you get plus 2,200 on a guy that's going to be parked in front of the net for the whole series. So I don't mind a little flyer on that. Also, Connor was at plus 475, which I thought was pretty good for series leading goal scorer. I mean, obviously, Leon's the
The thing
favorite to
about
lead the
that, Luke, is
series.
he's shooting the puck a lot more now. The last few
Right.
games against Dallas, he was starting to say, you know what, I'm going to look to score and look to shoot the puck more. That's
Yeah.
significant if you're interested in that. Yep.
I mean, the arguably the best player in the series, and you're getting odds at plus 475 for him to have the most goals. It's not a bad bet either. Kind of a good bargain. As far as game one, I really I look for power play guys, for points, assists, goals, whatever. Bouchard plus 390 for a goal. I think that's pretty good odds. That guy is obviously going to be bombing it from the top on the power play. So, he's a good one. Rodriguez at plus 360, another guy that's now on the power play. Those are guys that I think that's where you get some value. Otherwise, you're looking at, minus odds for, the favorites to get points, assists. Most of those guys are over 1.5 line anyways. So I like Rodriguez. I like Bouchard for a goal. Henrique, another guy, plus 500.
Wow.
More of a late in the game empty net hope, kind of similar to what we were talking about with
Which he's
Kapanen,
done.
but
He got one in game 4.
I
in
mean,
Edmonton against Dallas,
Henny's going to be out there late in the game. He's going to be their guy. He'll be on the ice in the last minute and a half. So if they're up, he's going to have a shot at it. So that's another good flyer, plus 500.
I mean, we're just spoiling our viewers and listeners rotten today with the bargain bin special of the night segment. What is that, like a cumulative 12 picks and 12 bets that we've recommended here with the bargain bin special of the night? You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to go back and listen to this show and write everything down because I'm posting all this stuff on the Patreon page later. So, yeah, we're going to have it's going to be like a rap sheet, trying to list everybody's bargain bin specials here. But it's great.
It's
a lot
funny,
of good ones.
You mentioned Henrique being with the empty net. Look, you can get him last goal scorer 3,100 at FanDuel, so that's something to consider too. Talk about looking at those empty net goal prices. There's still some last goal scorer props out a couple books.
And you can bet, no pun intended, that we'll be looking at live third period goal scorer props in the betcast tomorrow night for game one, depending on the situation and who's leading and what the score is at the time. No doubt we'll be looking into that. Perlo, bargain bin special.
Matthew Tkachuk just loves beating the Oilers. He just freaking loves it. It's like his favorite thing in the world, I think. So you can't take him for 2 points. So I'm going to.
I thought his favorite thing in the world was chewing that fucking mouthpiece.
While he's doing that, he likes.
Yeah.
What's that? I came here to kick ass and chew my mouthpiece, and my mouthpiece is almost gone. So I'm going to take Tkachuk goal for. I'm going to parlay a goal and parlay assist, plus 470 for Matthew Tkachuk for my game bargain bin. And I got 2 series bargain bins. I talked about it earlier. Luosterainen to score 2 goals in the series, plus 340. I like that. I'm going to do the same play as Alex, but I'll just go Panthers 4-2 correct score series at plus 490. That's it.
All right, there we go. Bargain bin. Did you get all that, everybody? Did you get all that? Yeah. What a segment. More picks and more bets and more recommendations in the bargain bin special segment than you could shake a stick at just now. All right, best bets now. This is, again, you could go with a series best bet, a game one best bet, one of each, whatever you want as far as a best bet segment here. Alex, we'll start with you. Best bet.
I quote him all the time when it comes to the playoffs, Mr. Ric Flair. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. And the man right now are the Florida Panthers. They're the defending, reigning Stanley Cup champions. And I believe they continue to hold on to that title and designation after this series is done. Give me Florida to win game one and Florida to win the series, Plus 250 is the best price available. That's over at BetMGM. I grabbed the plus 220 at FanDuel. Shop around and get the best of that number. But Florida takes game one. Florida takes the series. This will become the new tradition now. Is this is the 6th time we've seen the Prince of Wales Trophy in the state of Florida. This will also be now, I believe, the 4th time in the last 6 years we see the Stanley Cup in the new state of hockey, Florida. So Panthers game one, Panthers series. That's my best bet.
There it is. Florida Panthers game one and the series. We do have to make a detour before we continue the best bet segment. Back to bargain bin for 1 second, because guess what? Dum Dum forgot to give his bargain bin special picks. Yeah, this guy right here. I did not. I have two. I have a series bargain bin and I have a game one bargain bin. They're both Edmonton related. The series bargain bin, I mentioned it. I think it's absolutely tremendous. Series bargain bin is going to be Kasperi Kapanen, 2 goals or more at plus 390. I think it's a great price. Plus 390, 2 goals or more from Kasperi Kapanen in the series. It's my series bargain bin. My game one bargain bin, Alex Bolduc. Like I said, he got the script before the show because he said it. He likes it, and so do I. Evander Kane, plus 350 to score a goal in game one. I think he is going to be one of the guys they will ask to step up in the absence of Hyman. I know Kapanen stepped up. Nugent Hopkins has been great. Connor Brown's going to give you a little something probably. You never know about Henrique and Janmark. We've seen those guys step up, but Evander Kane is, especially with his physicality and his frame against a team like Florida, that's the guy I am targeting as to who's going to step up and bring an extra punch and thrust offensively for Edmonton. And I think it could be him. So plus 350, Evander Kane for my game one bargain bin special of the night. So there we go. All right, now we'll continue along with best bets. We'll go to Matt next. Matt, best bet.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. We talked about goalies having some issues with a long break in the playoffs. You know, both goalies have been playing well, so I wouldn't expect it to last too long, but maybe a little rust early. So I'm just going to stick with the simple bet of the first period over 1.5. Might be 2-0, might be 1-1, might be 2-1. Just need 2 goals. So first period over, that'll be my best bet for game one tomorrow night.
All right, good stuff there. First, that's the Matty Rob special, right? First period over, full game. You're doing the Matty Rob special for best bet, right?
No, I'm just doing the first period over.
Just first period over.
Just first period over 1.5.
There we go. All right, first period over 1.5 for game one, Florida Edmonton for Matt with his best bet. Perlo, best bet.
I'll do a series. The series is simple. I'm just taking Florida Panthers to win the series, and the other one is it's juicy, but I think Florida will score 3 goals. I'm going to take Panthers over 2.5 goals in the game.
There you go. Best bets for Perlo. Alex Bolduc, great to see you. Great to have you with us on the show. Your best bet. Muted again. Sorry, my friend. Jeez.
Yeah. All right. I think it goes back to what Luke was touching on before, and Bouchard bombing from the point. I didn't go for goals. I went over on shots. I think it was 2.5. So I'm going to take him for over at least 3 or 4 shots, I would say, in the first game.
A lot of Bouch bombs.
Yeah, I think he's like he's just going. They're going to be teeing him up. I think his confidence. I think he's a little upset with. I think he gets shit on a lot, that guy. And
I've been doing some of the shitting, so I understand what you're thinking with that. Yeah.
So I think he's confident, man. He looks good, like on offensively, and I think he's going to be bombing him from the point.
But it's been a while. That was the LA series. Like he was bad in game 1 and game 2 with that LA defensively.
When he's bad,
he was.
Yeah. But
yeah. But I've been praising him ever since. He's been a lot better defensively, and we know what he can do offensively with the shot, the power play, quarterback play that he brings, lugging the puck.
He's smooth. Yeah, he's nice.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's played a lot better since that tough start. All right, Luke Adam, last but not least, best bet.
Best bet series. Best bet. I think I like over 1.5 games to go to overtime. I think it was plus 170 last time I checked. So
you are speaking to Alex with that one. Yeah.
Two games. I think it's gonna be a tight series. I mean, we've talked about it all day about who's gonna win, this guy, that guy. There's gonna be a couple overtime games. I think I like that a lot at plus 170. As far as tomorrow night's game, Oilers to win the first period. minus one or plus 165. I got right now for them just to win first period, whether it's 2-1. Hopefully for Maddie's bet there to go hit the over, or whether it's 1-0. But I think they got the lead. I think they come out well tomorrow, get the lead in the first, win that first period.
Excellent. So first period money line there for the Edmonton Oilers for Luke Adam with his best bet. And there you have it. One of the more unique but fun and enjoyable shows we've done in quite some time. Like, it was the bar and the pub was full, like I said, with the show today. We had everybody joining us here today. And like Matt said, Matt may not be with us much during the final. He's got work and he's got a big trip that he's going on pretty soon. So like I said, if he might join us one more time, but if not, just another great season with Matty Robb and his contributions here all season long on the Ice Guys show. Although we might see him during the Betcast tomorrow night, you never know. But certainly for the daily show, great work again all season. Alex Bolduc, fun again having you on for a second time. Luke Adam, I try not to bother Luke to join the show during the season. Like, it's a grind with the ECHL stuff. You got to play and you got to play back-to-backs and all that. So that's why we waited. We waited till finally the season wrapped up to get Luke Adam back on. But great to have Luke back on the show as well. We hope you enjoyed it. This was a really, really fun show. And thanks to Brendan Perlini, of course, for joining us as well earlier on. I think we're all ready. I think now we can say, we're sick of talking about all this shit. Let's drop the fucking puck. Let's go.
Hell
Game 1 tomorrow night. Like, enough previews, enough analysis, enough flapping of the gums. Let's play some hockey now.
I need to go check out Perlini's pot. Make sure there's no bad stories about me in the jungle in the American League. I'm a little worried.
Hey, throwing you under the bus, Alex. I forgot to tell you that. Yeah.
Make sure. Hopefully a PG-13 then.
Yeah, make sure. Make sure no dirty laundry. Don Henley's coming out. Kick them when they're up. Kick them when they're down. Shout out to everyone. You can tell we got to wrap the show up. I'm getting stupid and goofy. So hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, we can't wait for the final. We will not have this was the series and Game 1 show, so we'll be back on Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern with the next daily show for Game 2, and of course the Betcast, Patreon exclusive tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. Reminder: the Ice Guys is live throughout the Stanley Cup Final on game days, and if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, Matt Robinson, Alex Bolduc, Luke Adam, Perlo, Brendan Perlini, everybody else and his brother too, because it felt like it being on the show today. I'm Ian Cameron. Enjoy the Stanley Cup Final and good luck. We'll see you for the Patreon Betcast for Game 1 tomorrow night and Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys. We have ourselves another this is, you can tell it's been a long time since we've done this. Did I give a best bet? I did not. I did not give best bets.
I don't think so.
Hold the phone here. You're not done the show yet. Ian Cameron this is an all-timer. We ran the outro. We're going to have to run it again right after this. But hey, it's one of those days. You're right. I did not give my best bets, which we will do right now. Series best bet. You can't be surprised with how much I was bullish on this. Corey Perry, 2 goals in the series, minus 110. 2 goals or more, over 1.5 goals for the series. Corey Perry, he will turn into that once again in this series for the Edmonton Oilers. So that's my series best bet. Corey Perry, over 1.5 goals, minus 110 for the Edmonton Oilers. And my Game 1 best bet here for tomorrow night. Let's go with that full game over 6. Let's do that. I think there's going to be goals early. And often I like the first period over 2, but we'll go with that over 6 minus 120 for best bet. So there we go. Now the show's over. Yeah, appreciate that, Jimmy. I no Boston hemp ink in this guy. This is just me having the ultimate brain fart. That's all, which I'm accustomed to.
It's a long show. It happens.
Yeah, a long show, no doubt. So there you have it. That's a wrap. We appreciate everyone joining us on this edition of the show. Great Stanley Cup Final preview show. Now we can say goodbye to everyone. Alex Bolduc already took off. He said, I'm not sticking around for this shit show of the conclusion of this episode. Alex B. Smith, Matt Robinson, Luke Adam, Perlo, Alex Bolduc, Brendan Perlini. Thanks to everyone for joining us. And now we will tell you to join us for the Betcast tomorrow night on Patreon. And we'll see you again on Friday for another edition of the Ice Guys. We're done for real.